Hey guys, let me try it again. Hello, hello. I hope everybody can hear me. How y'all doing? Well, I was going to go live, but it's Indigenous Day Eve, so and I have a lot of stuff to finish up tonight. But I want you to notice something. Of course, we have this Drake versus Kendrick thing once again, right? And it got me to thinking. It's not that I'm a history buff by any means, but history has a way of coming tapping us on the shoulder, right? And it comes in parallels, even in eras and different time periods that just seems like it's just like a different situation. I mean, we're talking music right now, but history will show you examples of other time periods and parallels to other situations, just like your present situation, right? And for some reason, I had got this idea in my head about Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison and how I correlated that with Kendrick and Drake, right? Oh, and it goes a little further, trust me. But let's stick to this, right? So, just in case some of y'all don't know, and I'm gonna have to shorten it, condense the history, okay? Nikola Tesla, Tesla, the oh goodness, who Elon named his company after, Tesla, was like a genius, right? And he was a great, great, great inventor. His mind was far beyond what was able to be created in his time period, right? And Thomas Edison was also an inventor, okay? Now, I'm not saying that everything that Tesla does and what Kendrick does is parallel and what Drake done is parallel to each other. But there are some key things that we can kind of draw from their situation to Kendrick and Drake's situation. And this somehow ongoing as one-sided beef. Firstly, before we go there, I just want to say that Kendrick's latest project GNX is some of the best music that I've heard in a long time in our generation of hip hop. Um, Kendrick is. Someone asked me the other day, it's like, well, where do you rate GNX with the other previous? And it's always hard for me to be able to rate Kendrick's catalogs because it's all about his mindset at the time, right? He's in a different mindset for each album. So it's like you're getting a totally different feel from the first album. I mean, in some albums, in some songs, you could probably have some semblance to where, well, I could compare that to that. But with Kendrick, I can't do that. Other artists I could do that with. So it's to me, each of his albums stands alone. Okay. So phenomenal album. We're going to redo our review of the album that will be coming soon. But this really got me to thinking because of Drake's lawsuit. So for those of you who have not heard, which would be crazy if you haven't, Drake is now suing UMG. Well, it's not that they're suing them, they're petitioning. They're trying to find grounds on why Not Like Us was pushed the way it was. They feel that it was pushed artificially. They felt like Kendrick was using bots. And they cited all these different sources, namely Academics TV, Jeremy Heck from The Bigger Picture, other online personalities, and what have you. A couple of these people that they try to utilize as their point of reference why they want this petition to go through, they never played the second part, which is really asinine to me. Because if you are trying to prove that there's something against you that's happened from your own company, then you wouldn't put or reference a video from a person that has not only the question but the solution to the question. So for instance, there was a thing going around, right? when you say certified, you ask Siri, say Siri, play certified lover boy. It would automatically play Not Like Us. Somebody had tweeted that. Jeremy Heck from Diagnosis, Hip Hop Diagnosis, or the bigger picture, if you will, seen this tweet and he tested it out. He said, "No, ain't no way, ain't no way, ain't no way that's gonna happen." And when he said, and he recorded himself, okay, so everybody could see the video. And he says, Siri, play Certified Lover Boy. And sure thing, Not Like Us came up, okay? So he was tripping out about it. I was like, that's weird that that's doing that. Because if that's doing that, that's kind of messed up. Well, come to find out, Siri wasn't going according to the song. Siri is going according to the lyrics. So if you say drop, 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 family ties came up. Now, I would think that drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot would have came up, but no, family ties came up. So it's lyric based or some type of verbiage based in the song than the actual song. Okay. So basically, when Jeremy Heck did this demonstration, he was able to debunk that it was from an artificial standpoint, that depending on the lyric that you're saying, the Siri is picking up the lyric that's attached to a song and may not automatically just attach to the song itself. So that was the second part of Jeremy Heck's point of the video. For some reason, Drake's team thought that would be a good idea to reference that. Also, Academics Fat Ass Drunk Squirrel, he had some streamer, or not even streamer, some bot expert dude from out of nowhere was saying that a third party got in contact with him to help push Kendrick streams at some type of unrealistic number that is stupid. You did it for like $20,000 and you ain't get but $5,000 to push the stream. Anyway, so a lot of this case or the petition for a lawsuit is really sounding kind of fugazi and very groundless. It sounds like to me this is more of a temper tantrum than anything. He's not suing Kendrick, but in a way he's trying to defame Kendrick's notoriety in his song. Because I think that he thinks that there's no way in hell everybody like Not Like Us the way we all did. So people are arguing and say, okay, let's say Kendrick did use bots, right? Whether he knew or not, we don't know. The way that song caught the hell on, that was organic. And I think that that's the problem that Drake can't handle. It was organic. Because, see, Drake, the same system he's complaining about, has used the system for everything, even drowning out other smaller artists that he's taken music from. UMG protected him. Now, Kendrick is part of UMG by way of Interscope. Drake is directly signed to UMG. He got out of his Cash Money deal and he went to UMG around 2022. So they've been negotiating. It was a 2-year contract, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a little longer. So he was actually in negotiations with UMG. Now, mind you, his last contract deal was $450 million or something like that, or $400 million. But Drake has been on tour for like a long time, just touring for to me, it seems like if you got that much money. Now they also said, from what I was reading back in his negotiations, his first one, he not this one, but the previous, apparently he's supposed to have all his masters. I don't see how though. If they give you $400 million, why? Just because you? That don't even sound right. Now, I think that if that's the case, then it's like all brand deals that he's probably part of, or, you know, any acting things he may do. So this could be the reason why he's sponsoring certain places, because and making a lot of money, because UMG might get a cut of all that. If they're not getting his masters, they probably getting other stuff to get the money. Well, this is what I think actually happened. Okay, so you heard all this stuff, Drake and Kendrick both, they went to battle. Kendrick won, all that stuff. So he's mad at the fact that he feels that UMG artificially pumped up Kendrick so they don't have to pay as much as they was paying, because if I'm not mistaken, he was going for $600 million this time, and it's for his contract to be renewed. Excuse me. And I guess the negotiation wasn't going well, or they were just in the middle of it. It was getting kind of contentious, and that happens, right? And so he feels that they pumped up, or they helped pump up Kendrick's song to devalue him. Now, again, he's not suing anybody. He's not suing Kendrick, but he really tried to throw some dirt on that damn song, right? Well, I listen to a lot of people's feedback, and I understand both sides of certain things. I really don't understand his side because he was using he used the same tactic as in 2018 when he was on everybody's playlist, right? So you have Rory explain it and Maul. Of course, Maul gonna be like, yeah, he for the people. He ain't gave a damn about the people in 2018. Shut the hell up, Maul. All of that, right? But this is my theory. I think I think UMG didn't do shit. I think UMG called Drake's bluff. I think Drake said, I'm the hottest thing ever. I think UMG said, you think so, huh? Now, this beef was just benefiting UMG in the end, right? I think UMG wanted to show him that he wasn't as hot as he thought he was. They was not going to interfere, period. See, he wanted UMG to stop not like us, which is strange to me because Meet the Grams is more damn disrespectful than anything. Not like us is like, well, thank God he came out with something happy, hell, because Meet the Grams was devastating. Everybody was in the chokehold and Meet the Grams. Not like us, we all partied. It was like, yeah, whatever, but we partied. So I actually think what happened was that safety net that Drake is used to was pulled from up under him. I don't think that UMG helped Kendrick. I think that they just chose not to help Drake. And I think because Drake chooses to move a certain way in the music industry, he thought Kendrick was doing the same thing, or he thinks that they help Kendrick the way they usually help Drake. But I think that UMG just sat back and said, okay, we're gonna watch. We actually gonna watch. We're not gonna do nothing. We're not stopping shit. We're gonna let him go. Because if you're going to be right, think about it. He's saying that he wanted them to stop, not like us, but then that means they should have stopped Taylor Made for you then. Because Taylor Made, you made some damning accusations against Kendrick, right? You made some really bad accusations against Kendrick, and you talked about his wife and called her a hoe, said she was sleeping with his friend, had a baby by his friend. Then she was supposed to be a DV victim because that's what you called Kendrick, right? But yet called it says shake your head, shake your ass, bitch. Called her all kind of bees and things. So use the fame as somebody that had nothing to do with the beef. Now, if anybody really have a case for a lawsuit and wants to be petty, and there's not going to be no exploration to see if they can sue, is Whitney. But I guess we'll just skip over that because not like us embarrassed the hell out of you, right? Okay, let's skip it. Speaking of Taylor Made, I kept wondering to myself why he keeps mentioning Taylor. What's that girl named Taylor Swift? He keeps bringing up Taylor Swift's name, and I think I got it now, which makes sense because in the petition, he was saying if I was Taylor Swift, you would have never let this happen. So because he's in the middle of negotiations with UMG, and Taylor Swift is basically the top one there. He wasn't even using Taylor Swift against Kendrick. He was doing that to UMG because that's why he kept bringing up her name because he's like, oh, she's protected. So he was throwing subliminal shots at UMG as well. I don't know if anybody else caught that since I read that, but it makes a lot of sense why he was naming the name Taylor Made and say, "Oh, you can't drop unless Taylor Swift say so." He was throwing little indirect shots at, again, talking about a different woman. See there, he was throwing indirect shots at Taylor Swift because he was mad at UMG. Now, this is just my theory. This is just my theory. But now it makes sense why he even named it Tailor Made. Because I always try to figure out, why would the hell would you name this Tailor Made? It didn't make sense. Because she did a song with Kendrick. You know how many pop dumbass songs you done? That don't make sense. But once you look at the petition, and he mentions, well, if I was basically saying, if I was a white woman named Taylor, you wouldn't dare do this. How dare you, sir? You know what I'm saying? So I found that peculiar. Let me know what you think. Oh, by the way, please, please, please like, share, and subscribe. This is Battle Rap Street Team. I know we haven't done Battle Rap in a while. We got to catch up on that. But back to this. Why do I have Tesla and Thomas Edison in the background of Kendrick and Drake? I had to go over that for a minute for that little beef right there and that little thing going on about the court. So Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison had what was called War of the Currents back in the day when they was really working with the electricity back then, right? So I want to give you a little bit of information, okay? Thomas Edison, which is this guy here, the guy that's behind Drake, he developed and heavily promoted something called DC systems, right? Now, DC systems is basically direct current. We're talking about electricity, okay? So he developed and heavily promoted the direct current, okay, which provided like a steady unidirectional flow of electricity, okay? Now, this was okay because the direct current was suitable for short distances, but there was a problem. It required numerous power stations because it couldn't be easily transformed into a higher or lower voltage for efficient long distance transmission. Something like with Drake, he had numerous power stations, if you will, to help with the efficiency and the stability of the current, right? Now, Tesla introduced a different type of current system. Tesla in present day is going to be Drake. Kendrick. So Tesla had AC, which is called the alternating current. Okay. Now Tesla was working with George Westinghouse. We'll call George Westinghouse TDE. Okay. TDE. And so they introduced the AC systems, right? Now, the AC allowed voltage to be easily increased or decreased using transformers, making it far more efficient for long distance transmission, right? Now, Tesla designs such as like the induction of motors and the AC systems were very revolutionary and formed like the basis of what we call now modern electricity distribution. How does this translate to Kendrick? His lyricism. Drake can rap, but Kendrick is a lyricist. Rap only goes so far. Lyricism goes forever. Okay? Now, an important note about Nikolai and Thomas Edison. See, Nikolai used to work for Thomas Edison, but they started having creative difficulties between the AC, the alternating current, and the DC, direct current. Again, Edison was on the direct current side because, hell, he said, I created it, that's what it's going to be, right? Drake didn't create hip hop at all, one bit, period. Came in as a pop star, which he really is, and that's okay. But he tried to change the game of hip hop. And I mean, some can argue he did. He's been on the charts for 15 years, right? So by that standard, you're like, well, shoot, he should be the AC, not the DC. But no, I'm talking about his rapping is DC, direct current. And he had a powerhouse behind him to make sure his direct current was always steady. So there's this conflict that started escalating. Edison, who was actually threatened by the alternating current, the AC, from Nikola Tesla, launched this big old smear campaign, right, to try to discredit it. You know, like when Kendrick did the control verse and the people who supposedly hit back, they didn't because they respected it, but the one person that got mad was Drake. And so he tried to do his little smear campaign saying, I don't know who's going to ever work with him. I wouldn't work with him. You know, you talk about everybody behind her back after you rap with them, everything was cool. You know, he did that little spiel, you seen it. So he tried to do a smear campaign. But fast forward today, well, fast forward the beef, right? The smear campaign and the beef was that, and admittedly so, Kendrick came out with like that, right? Apparently, there was a conversation between Kendrick and Drake. I don't know if J. Cole was involved or not, but I know you guys kind of heard this too. Whatever needed to be resolved didn't get resolved, but they decided, let's be men. We're gonna rap this back. We're gonna do a rap battle, which I think that if they came to that conclusion, even if they would have done a fair one, that would have been cool, and we didn't have to know about it. But they came to this conclusion to wrap it out, right? Apparently, I think Cole must have been in it since he decided to, do might delete later and actually deleted it later. So after the light deck, of course, boom. And they also said that there was supposed to be women and kids, right? Cole did his verse, of course, and he kept it hip hop. Cole kept it hip hop. He kept his focus on Kendrick. Cole did what he was supposed to do. Then he got out of the situation when he found out this was more than what it's supposed to be. Drake didn't. Drake came out. He rapped a little bit about it, but then he got personal. He got real personal, right? Well, that didn't work out too well. And Kendrick was quiet for a minute. Kendrick was quiet for about 2 weeks. And there was a lot of people, including the OGs like Fat Joe and all the rest of them, that really thought that Kendrick didn't have nothing. They thought that you ain't doing shit. So Drake started taunting like the people that wasn't even had nothing to do with the beef, right? And he was taunting his managers, showing pictures of people and all that. So he tried to embarrass Kendrick. Okay. Well, we're gonna stop there and we're gonna go back to see what happened to Edison and Tesla in their fight. So, despite all of Edison's efforts, Tesla's AC system proved to be superior. Now, the turning point came when Westinghouse and Tesla, TDE and Kendrick, won the contract to power the 1893 Chicago World Fair with AC. Soon after, AC was chosen for the massive Niagara Falls power project, solidifying its dominance. Okay. Now let's fast forward to our present. Beef is really one sided at this point. After Taylor Made, here comes Kendrick. Kendrick got Euphoria. Boom. 616 in LA. Boom. Still didn't disrespect Drake's baby's mom or nothing like that, right? Drake came out with Family Matters. That's what he disrespected Whitney for long. Okay. After Family Matters, about a blink and a half later, let's give it a blink and a half and probably gotten something to eat. Let's say about 37 to 45 minutes later, when people was really into Family Matters. This is why I don't understand why Drake is mad, because people was on his side when he started this. But 45 minutes later, the horror movie called Meet the Grams came out and just had everybody's hair standing up on the back of their neck and wondering what the hell is wrong with Kendrick. Why y'all keep messing with this little man? Because he's apparently he own one. Leave him alone. And so he overwhelmingly won the public over with his, if you want to say, AC, right? His alternate current, right? He won the people over. A lot of people were still undecided after Euphoria. Some because they didn't understand the origins of 616. They were still undecided. There's a lot of people were still trying to give it to Drake. When Meet the Grams hit, a lot of folks was like, "Oh gosh, oh, they're not like us." And then Drake's sorry ass version of his part of Heart Part 6, which is not true, because Kendrick reclaimed that, and we don't remember what Drake said anymore. So anyway, why did I do this though? Why? Because the big conclusion of this is that Tesla and Edison rivalry was just, it wasn't just a clash of personalities, but a defining moment in the history of technology. Much like Kendrick and Drake's defining moment in the history of hip hop, right? For Tesla and Edison, it highlighted the importance of innovation and adaptability and the eventual triumph of a superior technology, which was the alternating current over the entrenched interests of direct current. So when we put that in hip hop terms or in today's environment, the eventual triumph of hip hop soul and lyricism happened over the entrenched system of the same music industry that Drake is claiming to fight now. Kendrick fought the machine. I get that y'all saying, well, Kendrick is signed to UMG too, but all throughout this beef and forever, Kendrick would say, I will burn this shit down. He wasn't talking about TDE. He not burning nothing down for TDE. So who are you talking about? He keeps saying, you put a wrong label on me, I'll get him dropped. He said that on Not Like Us. Who's not listening to that? He's already on that. So let's talk about this. This is fast forward this real quick, and then we'll get back to. I really want you to know the parallels between Tesla and Kendrick, and also the parallels between Edison and Drake, and something else too. I got. It's another factor, and we haven't touched that factor yet. So now Kendrick had just, let's fast forward to G and X for a minute. Kendrick just dropped G and X, right? It started with the streaming platforms. We didn't even know who the guest rappers were, the features were yet. Kendrick dropped that with no promo. We didn't know what the hell was going on. He did a 1 minute introduction to, hey, something coming, and boom, something came. 5 minutes later, dropped everything. All the whole album is out. No warning, no nothing, no gear up, no rollout, nothing, right? With that said, and I think that Kendrick's point is, I don't need bots to sell my shit, because that was the whole rumor around his stuff. He's showing that I have no promotion, I have no rollout clip, right? A 1 minute introductory clip. And within a matter of how many days? What has it been? 3 days, 4 days now? I think he's almost at 300,000 with no rollout, nothing. Pure sales, we're talking now. Pure sales. So if he's at 300,000 around, it's not even been a week yet, around the first week, pure sales, no rollout. He's telling you this ain't bot shit. This is the people. He tells you that he's the people's champ. He's telling you that these people, regardless of race, creed, or color, although black man, we got you, they buy my product for real. This isn't no trumped up numbers. This isn't no falsifying anything. This is me. These folks is for me. This ain't, UMG ain't got nothing to do with this but to distribute it. They even said that UMG didn't even know he dropped the damn album. That's like, what the hell happened? Kendrick dropped what? What you mean he dropped? He didn't. Wasn't no conversation. No, wasn't no conversations. Kendrick said, "Fuck that." No. I'm dropping. They would, you know what I think? I think somebody was at home. Kendrick said, "You ready? Yep, drop it." You shook, yep. If you ain't seen the skit with RDC World, go see that skit because I promise you, I think this happened like that. Um, and all the songs are fire too. By the way, I can't wait to do the review. We have to do the re-review of that. But I feel like he was making a point with this album. And I think that a lot of people have a right to say that this isn't his album. I say this is the A side of his album. This ain't a throwaway by no means. Songs are great production. The people that he has that's featured there are young gunners that's coming up, right? They're young guns that's coming up. And giving them that shine and producing these young talents. They seen the professionalism, and I bet you those the young talents ain't ever going back to whatever they had to deal with before they got to him. They're on a record that's going to continually make money. That is awesome for him. He literally planted money trees in his in their backyard, and I think that's wonderful. I do have a request. You have a second album coming out. Since you confessed about Black Hippie, please do a song with Black Hippie. I don't care. Y'all ain't even got to do a song together. Just damn it, tour together. Damn. Can we get a tour with all four of y'all, please, Lord, please? Okay, that's enough. That's on me. That's on me. Okay. But I really think that GNX was a proven point for everybody to realize that he's telling you that he doesn't need any artificial inflex or nothing. I think that Kendrick knew about this coming out soon. I think that he heard because according to his people on his side, like DJ Head and them, they always say that Kendrick know everything, see everything is what it is. He's the boogeyman. So yeah. So I think he dropped GNX to show everybody, whether they supported him or not, that I don't mess with artificial box. He's taking it back to the old school. He's taking it back to the 80s. We didn't care about numbers. Honestly, that was 50 Cent's fault, is why we care about numbers so much now. So that's what I think. Now, I also want to bring in the thing about Ja Rule real quick. Y'all need to really quit comparing Drake to damn Ja Rule. Ja Rule was in the middle of a damn case. The feds was on Irv Gotti and Ja Rule's ass when 50 dropped that shit and was on him and on him and on him and on him. They couldn't say nothing back. It was nothing. What if the feds got you, right? Investigating you, right? What the hell was Ja Rule was supposed to say back? They was they was about to go to prison. You hear me? Y'all need to really go back and look at that and look at it from the perspective of Ja Rule and them was under investigation with the feds. Are you shitting me? No, they can't say nothing back. So to sit here and say as if, oh man, he lost it, he lost like Ja Rule. This is a shame. Stop putting that on Ja Rule. He got an asterisk. He had the feds on his ass. I wouldn't have said nothing either. I would have had to. I would hate to have to take it, but that's fed. What was it? How was he going to rap and threaten? You got the government on your ass. You not saying nothing. Drake ain't had none of that on him. He just sucked. That's just what it is. He's a pop star, and that's okay. Okay. So now I want to shift gears here and discuss why I think that there's parallels between Tesla and Kendrick and Edison and Drake. Okay, and I had to write everything down because it was a lot. It was a lot. And I was just working it through, and so just bear with me here. I'm getting to my notes right now. Oh, excuse me, and I got a little cold too, so I'm trying to do everything at the same time. But I really think that it's interesting how history has a way of repeating itself in parallels. And it's not always the same thing or the same era, but it gives you little lessons from each conflict, if you will, depending on what it is, or anything for that matter, depending on what it is, right? So I want to get to it. Let me get to it. I'm coming. I wrote a lot of stuff down here and I typed it and I'm trying to catch my place on it. Come on. There is one thing I do want to say. Oh no, with the parallels, it feels kind of strange even putting this together, the different perspectives, just to try to get you to understand between the old and new and everything. But one of the things that was totally different with Tesla, like I think Kendrick was rapping since he was a kid. Tesla really didn't get into his own. He's from Croatia. So he always had this big imagination though, right? And they said when he was a kid, he had a knack for solving problems. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Kendrick had supposed to have like a big imagination. He always wrote all the time and everything. He had a stuttering problem, right? So those are some things, but Tesla really didn't come into his own until a little bit later. And as with Edison, he didn't come into his own until a little bit later, but he had different jobs. It's very interesting how they worlds intersect, and it's the same as with Kendrick to and Drake to a degree. Okay, so now I finally found my notes. So it's crazy because there is a parallel between Nikola and Tesla that's really kind of cool, where they share a certain type of thing. And I just want to read to you what I figured out what it was to me. This is just my opinion, right? So they share, like, I guess what you would call, for lack of a better word, like brilliance. They definitely share originality because Tesla was always in his mind thinking up new things. Again, he was ahead of his time, right? And their ability to redefine their like respective fields. If you think about it, like while often being either underappreciated or maybe at that time misunderstood in their own time, right? There was plenty of times where people misunderstood what Kendrick meant, like they was mad about some lyrics that he would say, and it wasn't that he was disrespecting black people as a whole. He was working through the anger himself. And if he's trying to be true to himself and you're liking him for him to be a real guy or what have you, there's some conflicting things that he has to walk through himself. And we take it the wrong way because we're not understanding his intent, right? So let's think about this. First off, they're both visionaries, right? If with Tesla, he basically revolutionized electricity and technology with the alternating current, like the wireless energy and futuristic ideas for decades ahead of his time, right? And people didn't really understand him until, I don't think that they would have understood him in today's time. And with that, you could say, okay, well, Kendrick also redefined modern hip hop. He brought back that storytelling. Not only did he bring it back, he was able to utilize it and make it very intricate. He has innovative production. I mean, Soundwave and them and Mixed by Ali and all these different people, the type of the risk that he takes with his music is uncanny, right? He has a lot of social commentary that he goes through, right? Like, so think about it. Albums like To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn, he really pushed a lot of the boundaries of rap music and the criticism, the critical acclaims and the reshaping of the genre. He decided to put something on his back. I think, and I can't speak for Kendrick, but I think he felt that it was his generation's job to keep the connection of old school hip hop and what the roots of it was to the newer generation, because nobody was doing it. Nobody was doing it except, I can say, except for a few scattered people. Everybody in TDE was doing it, but not everybody else had that type of freedom to do hip hop the way they wanted to. He was just in an environment where TDE allowed them to cultivate their style. A lot of rappers didn't, right? Excuse me. Now, again, both of them were ahead of their time, right? Because when you think about it, Tesla actually, think about this, how, when they say your third eye open, think about how intense his third eye was. Because for you to have a vision of wireless communication and renewable energy and all these technologies way before they were even thought of by anybody else, it didn't make sense to nobody. They thought that he was crazy. They thought that he was overly ambitious. And what are we doing now? We have all the wireless technology we ever need. Now we ain't like the Jetsons yet, But this man's mind expanded so far, right? Now, for Kendrick, he often explored, like, certain themes, like, say, racial injustice, identity, a lot of spirituality for a younger generation and rap. That's interesting because there's other types of music that's way more popular. They own a different type of spirituality, and it's a shame, right? He always have this depth that challenges the listeners. Y'all can talk about Kendrick fans all you want to, but damn it, Kendrick enjoys throwing Easter eggs and shit in his videos and in his songs. Don't think that that little maniacal ass man don't enjoy this shit. Y'all have been making fun of Kendrick Lamar fans that do these deep dives. His fan base is the only fan base I know that got a damn notebook, pen, and think tanks. He got these folks up here doing study hall on his shit. He love it. He crazy. He love that shit. If DJ Head says that he looks and sees everything, he sees and hears everything, he enjoys the hell out of these deep dives. We can all be wrong, but don't think he don't enjoy it. That man love it crazy because he crazy. He who does that? I haven't seen people do that since the 80s and 90s when Rakim was spit. And see, in our version, in our day, we had to rewind the tape and bring it back, rewind it, bring it back, write it down, bring it back, spit it to our friends and bring it back, listen to it on the radio, rewind it again. We had to go through all that. Kendrick literally got these folks out here with notebooks and pens and paper and talking to each other and breaking down the theory of the theory. They go down these long ass rabbit holes, and you see he don't come out and refute shit. He likes it. But that's what makes him popular. He's sitting up there making us do a choose your own adventure book. We just be on all kind of damn adventures and shit. And he ain't stopping shit. Please, y'all better leave these damn Kendrick fans alone. They know what they doing, and he know what they doing too. But when you think about it, he does go beyond the surface because, like, say, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, um, that's a bold for us. I would think for this generation, especially, that is a bold move for hip hop, for a lyricist, for a rapper. Like, I'm just gonna say rapper for lack of better word, because he talked about mental health, and a lot of rappers do talk about mental health, right? He talk about gang violence, but he doesn't talk about it from the standpoint that his ass is Doughboy. He talks about it from the standpoint of, like, shit, I know Doughboy. I know what his family went through. I have Doughboys that I have the inner spirit of Doughboy sometimes because of things that didn't happen to me. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that he's unafraid to bear out some real shit, like Mr. Morale letting us know, look, hey man, Whitney was good to me, I was stupid. Basically, that's what he's saying. Whitney was good to me, I was stupid. Okay. We know what that is. I don't need therapy. And black people, I'm gonna tell you something. Um, I know everybody else think it's so easy for people to get therapy, but black people especially, the reason why we're shy at certain things like therapy is because we was for us being black, we black people because they wanted to escape slavery. So that's why when y'all talk about therapy and all this medication, this and this and that, the things that was done to us is on a whole different traumatic level. So no, I'm not going to just go to any therapist, and I'm not going to just tell you all my problems. So that takes a lot of work to find the right person. That's another thing too. It takes a lot of time to find the right therapist. It's not like, just like with the doctor, you just don't go to any doctor. It's going to take time. You might not like that doctor. You got to go to another doctor. So if you want to get mental health and you got to go through all these people, sometimes that's a discouragement, unfortunately. So, but let's keep going. Now, I think this is one of the best things that I found in parallel. Sorry about that. I had to blow my nose. I'm so sorry. But what I really think that kind of draws a great parallel between Tesla and Kendrick is that they both are underdogs, and they were underdogs that went against the establishment. You know, Tesla had to battle a lot of people. He, like Thomas Edison, remember him and Thomas Edison used to work together, right? It was hard for him to struggle and secure certain fundings for his project, and another thing that was crazy because he was so smart, but a lot of his hardship in his life, he had financial hardship. He was overshadowed by competitors. And if you remember, I think, was it To Pimp a Butterfly, or was it I think it was to Pimp a Butterfly, when he felt kind of insecure about when was he gonna make a shot, and Whitney told him, "Baby, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna make it. Don't you worry about it." He had hardships, things like that. So that's the thing that that Tesla and Kendrick kind of have a parallel to. Um, with Kendrick, for instance, he's celebrated now. Um, his introspective and poetic approach is a very contrasting thing to like flashy commercial style, things like that, show offy type attitudes that's in that industry. But you know what else though? When you think about it, Kendrick ain't really celebrated by anybody but the people, except for his core friends. Like, for instance, this battle really proved that even our OGs that we looked up to, that we thought that told us that lyricism was everything, they copped out. And I think that that's really what hurt Kendrick. Like, wait a minute, I can see the flaky people, but you are MCs. Like, why are you coming against me? I'm holding this flag down for you when you didn't even get the credit that you deserve. I understood where you was coming from because I'm built from this cloth. I didn't go buy the cloth. I didn't go to an auction house and went and got the cloth and then melted down to make a different cloth and brag about buying somebody else's cloth who already washed their ass with it. I am from this cloth, and you going against the person that is from this cloth. What the hell? So I can see that frustration from Kendrick's point of view in that. Not really even being at this point, I think it's past. He's past Drake shit. He looking at hip hop. He's putting the mirror up to hip hop. Like, what we doing? What is this then? What is this thing that's supposed to be ours? Y'all didn't let yourself get that damn diluted, because every time when I'm trying to tell y'all let's empower ourselves, y'all run the other way. Like, you just want to talk about empowering, you don't really want to do it. So let's what we doing, right? I'm gonna do this, y'all do that. I'm good. Okay. Now, another important thing is that, as you can tell from all of this, he has an unwavering dedication to his craft, and so did Tesla. Tesla was very, very obsessively devoted to his work. But you know what? And that's also sacrificing his personal relationships, everything like that. Kendrick has a song called Gloria. If you haven't listened to the album, listen to it. The song called Gloria is basically a relationship with his pen, right? Because him writing lyricism, him being a lyricist or what have you, right? That's just like when Pac did Me and My Girlfriend, he was talking about a gun, right? Or GUN, excuse me. Um, I think that Kendrick can be in that same type of obstacle where I bet you that he'll get obsessive for a minute in his work. And it can you can sacrifice your personal relationships. So that takes a long time to be able to, and I think that's why he likes to be um the boogeyman. Because if he really had it all out the way, I think that if he really had it his way, he would. I think he got to stop himself from himself. And I think that a lot of us, we got to do that. Because if we have it our way, we would sacrifice our personal relationships. We really be talking about it, because what we do and what we love, it would obsess us, right? And we would get possessed by what we do. And I think that Kendrick has found some type of way to juggle, if you will, what he loves, but he has a family that gotta come first, and that takes a little time. And Tesla was very, very obsessed with his work. What's the other guy? Oh, I can't think of his name right now. Hughes, Howard Hughes. He was another one. And they end up becoming recluses. These people will be so smart. They'd be so far ahead of their time, but they lose their mind and their awareness at the same time. And you can only stop that. They can only stop that, right? Another thing, because Kendrick is so dedicated to his craft, like he invests years into his albums and focusing on the lyricism and the storytelling. As you know, like maybe every 2, maybe every 3 years, we'll get an album from Kendrick. This is the most active I've seen this man. He's so active, people scared. They, I must say, I think people tired now. I think that Kendrick is cussing us out too, because he said, "Oh, y'all want to see me? I'ma make sure you're gonna be sick of me, where you're gonna want me to chill for a good 5 years. Every time somebody come out with the letter K, you better hope it's Kardashian. That's what he's doing. That's what Kendrick is doing. I'm just telling y'all. That's what he's doing. So let's get back to it. Also, that's so important to what was a thing for Kendrick and also Tesla, both of them being misunderstood, you know, in Tesla's day, because they was real quick to judge, you know, they used to consider him like a mad scientist, and he was always misunderstood because he had these unconventional ideas and methods and different things of the way he's seen stuff, like, you know, like say, well, like, you know, Pharrell, and I have yet to see the movie, but I think, if I remember correctly, I seen a snippet of when Pharrell was saying how when he sees things in music. So just imagine a person that sees real life in a whole different perspective. You would think that they were actually insane, because they're seeing real life bend in front of them, change in front of them. We're looking at life as straight ahead, and they're seeing shapes that's different than what we're seeing. That flips your mind, right? It's like, and how do you keep that straight in your mind? Because it's all like, golly, what can I do? So that's hard to explain. And when people ain't, if they don't understand it, they think you crazy, you know? And with Kendrick, of course, he's making songs like Mother I Sober and Mortal Man or Auntie Diaries. It really does make people get uncomfortable about that, because of the trauma that's associated with certain things with those songs. Um, and so that he digs for a deeper meaning. I don't know if he wants us to be surprised, like depressed or something at first, but he really brings all of that out. You know, for Mr. Morale to be such a serious, therapeutic type of album, and if you're not ready for it, you're just not going to be ready for it. I understand if you're not ready for it, but the way it was so successful on tour is crazy. That type of album in any other genre, any other era of hip hop, probably wouldn't even make it, you know, but somehow he was able to make it that. Now, both of their legacies is always going to be unmatched, right? Because when you think about it, a lot of Tesla's ideas is the foundation of all of his modern technologies, right? And Kendrick, of course, he's going to inspire a whole new generation that's really going to start thinking about lyricism again. Think about it. This whole beef, everybody was talking about lyricism. They was breaking down the videos, the songs, who was the producers. That's how we knew all of our DJs. Who's the DJ? We know about Ninth Wonder because of the beat selection from. We knew their tags. We knew who they were. We're enjoying the body of music again. And I think that's dope for this generation to really understand how we felt in the 80s about that. So I think that's great. So now we're going to move on to Thomas Edison and Drake. Okay. So first off, and it's not really bad. I'm because you know, like I said, Drake is a pop star. He's not hip hop. He's pop, and it's okay. But let's talk about what Drake does do very well, right? And that a lot of rappers tried to do, or a lot of people in any hip hop spaces or otherwise tried to do, that Drake has done very well. And he's outdone, I even say Nicki at this point, and Wayne. He mastered popular appeal. Okay. So what does that mean? Him and Edison did this, right? So Edison was always understanding of what the public wanted and how to commercialize the inventions that he created, right? He understood technology marvels, and he knew that for some reason, he understood how to make them marketable. Okay. Drake is one of the most, when you look at it, no hate involved. You can't hate on the brother, half brother. He is one of the most commercially successful artists in music, whether it's hip hop, R&B, pop, whatever. And it's probably because of his music stylings that keeps him relevant across all demographics, right? Another thing, a lot of output with his catalog and his music. For instance, Edison, if we're talking about that, Edison was the Drake of his day, right? Edison held over 1,093 patents. 1,093 patents, okay? Which makes him one of the most prolific inventors in history, okay? Now, his output, though, it wasn't just about quality, but it was about quantity and constantly delivering the innovations. Similar to Drake, Drake's catalog is very extensive. And when especially in those beginning years, he was spanking everybody ass in his catalog, the albums. He has numerous hit albums, singles, collaborations. He was able to produce chart topping music year after year after year with constant streams over and over again. So you can't hate on that. You can't. Okay. Another important point that he had, which I think it is kind of cool, but then the way he utilizes it, it can go bad too. But adaptability and what we consider reinvention. And the reason why I say reinvention, because he always had another accent. This guy, Aubrey's playing Drake. He always had another accent. He ain't been all these. He ain't. You don't have this much blood in you, baby. You didn't play every accent you could find. Okay. So with that said, with Addison, for instance, he always was able to adapt to different challenges, whether it was certain inventions that he created. Um, for instance, he revolutionized electricity and motion pictures. He did that, right? He would take existing ideas and try to refine them to make them more practical and marketable. And Drake did that. He constantly reinvents sound. He would adapt to trends in music, whether he would quote unquote collaborate with other artists from different genres, or even experimenting, right, with regional styles like Afro beats, especially Afro beats and UK drill. So that's how his adaptability works, right, in reinventing. Now, there is something that is really shared in parallel, which is criticism and originality. Edison was always criticized because he was often, those patents, that 1,093 patents, he was often accused of taking credit for ideas or inventions that weren't entirely his own either. See, Edison had his own OVO sweatshop. He had people working for him. He was quick to say that he invented the light bulb. That man ain't invent no damn light bulb. And the motion picture camera. But if you go back, other people was already on that. A lot of critics argue that he was better at marketing and refining others' work than actually inventing from scratch. That was his thing. He just seen it, said, I can somehow take this over and do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and market it better. And that's what he did. So that criticism of originality, both of them face that. For Drake, again, relying on ghostwriters, if y'all remember, y'all know, and borrowing heavily from other styles and trends. This Now they said that he has undeniable talent, but this is the reason why I never really leaned into Drake's music, because he had ghostwriters. This is why I don't understand why people the likes of Rory will sit here and tell you to your face and lie and say that his pen rivals Nas and Jay-Z. The day I see that Nas and Jay-Z has reference tracks, then I'll say that. Quit putting this man in the space and place that he don't belong. He's pop. He's not hip hop. And that's okay. Right? Now, let's talk about this business acumen now, because Drake did do a $400 million business deal, and ain't nobody, I mean, we don't know how much sold that he sold, but he sold something. But Edison, they said that he was a shrewd businessman and he understood the importance of branding. And he also established companies like General Electric, right? Which was a big powerhouse. We'll talk about that later. I'm gonna get you on that. You got to learn something. And Drake, he did other business ventures like his OVO clothing line, right? He got his own record label through UMG. He has partnership brands with Nike, so he's a legit businessman. Both of them are polarizing figures, right? Um, Edison was celebrated as a genius, but some people may think that no, he really wasn't a genius. Like, again, he was a good marketer. He had very aggressive tactics, though. In the war of currents, his dispute with Nicholas Tesla really made him a polarizing figure. And I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but another reason why that whole thing failed with him and with the AC current and DC current, he ended up having to use AC current to continue his innovations and inventions and stuff. But he also electrocuted animals and things to really try to horrify the crowd. I don't know if I mentioned that. I probably did, but I just wanted to reiterate that, right? Now, when we talk about polarizing figures with Drake, he does have a dominance in the music industry. Laid out. We seen that with how that went, where I don't think he was used to anybody being able to overchart him. I think that still surprised him. I think that I think that people actually started thinking about the way he charts, that sometimes that high chart topping overshadows his artistry or the authenticity of his artistry. And I think that people put that in question a lot. But now let's talk about this, because I wrote this down too, about his influence and with that his longevity. Like, there's a lot of modern technologies that is because Edison did lay some foundations, or took them, right? And Drake, albeit aside, he's been relevant for over a decade in an industry that usually fleet and fame. Again, they both had powerhouses behind them, but his influence on the music and the trends ensure his name was always there. Okay. So the major drawback for both of them is about being original, right? But they were still able to dominate in their respective industries. I mean, that's the truth, right? Now, there's another um person I want to bring in the fold. And I think you're going to find this interesting too. So just bear with me, because I'm about to bring this one into the fold. Because it makes a lot of sense. It really brings some type of clarity, if you will, due to the history of the same parallel type of thing here. And it is coming up. right now. Let me get it. Come on. Here we go. So, who do we see here? Do y'all know who these people are? Of course you do. You see the front, that's Lucien Grange. Of course, this is Drake. This person in the back here, name is J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan and Thomas Edison used to be partners at one time. And we're about to dive into their little history. J.P. Morgan financed Thomas Edison, like Lucien Grange financed Drake. So here we go. We're going to talk about some of the parallels with J.P. Morgan and Lucien Grange, right? They both powerful. They both shaped their industries through influence, strategy, and control. Both of them actually dominated their fields like finance and music, and they would leverage their relationships and their resources for the vision. So, what happened between J.P. Morgan and Thomas Edison? Well, Morgan created General Electric kind of without Thomas Edison's full control, right? Drake's legal petition kind of highlights some of the influences on the major players under their umbrella the same way. And we're going to talk about it. Now, before we get started, I want to say this. That same JP Morgan that y'all see, the financial institution, you want to know why they are such in everybody's business when it comes to the banking and finance? It's because they great granddaddy, JP Morgan the first, he actually bailed out America. Look up the panic of 1907. And at that time, America was in debt, right? And the three heavy hitters was J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, and Carnegie. I can't think of his first name, but it's Carnegie. You know, Carnegie Hall, named after him. He was really the arts and literature guy. He loved stuff like that. But he was rich. I think he was Irish too. He was rich. And all three of them shaped America, right? Now, JP Morgan being the financier and everything, or the banker and what have you, anytime America, the government, got into trouble financially, they would try to hit them three. And they would give them some money. But there was a bitter relationship between Rockefeller and the government because Rockefeller felt like if we were to lose our money, we would never be able to come to you. Why don't you? He was the original. Why don't you pull yourself up by the bootstraps, America? Was shit. We can't keep bailing y'all out. So every now and then, he would come in, but he was real contentious with the government of America, not America, but the government of America. That's why they be on Rockefeller's ass right now because his great granddaddy was on their ass, okay? But J.P. Morgan bailed out America several times, and as did Carnegie Hall. Carnegie, I call him Carnegie Hall. Goodness, as did Carnegie. I swear, I'm mad. I'm mad. I don't remember his name. But let's walk through some of their parallels that I was able to figure out. Right? We have, let's say, visionary leadership. Right? So J.P. Morgan was a financier that literally reshaped America's industry. Okay, and what he did was consolidate companies and created corporate giants like General Electric and U.S. Steel because he bought U.S. Steel from Carnegie. And Morgan had a knack for like identifying talent, like Thomas Edison. And what he would do is channel it into the projects that aligned with his financial goals. Don't think Thomas Edison didn't know that. The one major thing that Thomas Edison and Drake share both in common, they thought it was bigger than the system. And J.P. Morgan and Lucien Grange make them realize that they are the system. That's the difference. Okay. So Grange, of course, he's the CEO and chairman of Universal Music Group, right? He oversees one of the largest, excuse me, and most influential record labels in the world. Excuse me, I got a cough now. Give me one moment, please. Okay, sorry about that. I was about to go on I went through a coughing spell. Excuse me. So he actually propelled UMG to dominate the whole music industry because now there's only like three major companies and UMG is one of it, right? He signed global superstars. He adapted to the streaming, which he has something to do with, and he always quote unquote ensure the label's profitability, right? Now let's talk about something that's real key to me on this: power over talent. So, like I said, JP Morgan was an admirer of Edison's genius, but you know what? He just he just saw him like a stepping stone anyway. Because General Electric, which was Edison's baby, if you think about it, he just wanted to get that. He wanted another industrial dominance. So he would finance Edison's ventures and everything. And then Morgan strategically, while he was financing the ventures, he strategically sidelined him to consolidate all this control over the electricity industry, which formed General Electric. And Edison didn't have any significant influence of that company. So, like, Edison thought that he was part of JP Morgan. He thought he was as powerful as JP Morgan, but JP Morgan holds the money. He ain't as powerful as that, right? So Morgan was able to leverage talent over for his broader vision while asserting ultimate control. Okay. And the reason why Edison thought this is because of the same thing that Drake has: arrogance. Okay. So now with Lucian Grange and Drake, um, Lucian Grange, right, is one of the most lucrative, signed one of the most lucrative artists, which was Drake, right? Now, there's a legal petition going on challenging his contract that happened around 2022, I think, 2024, right? And so the petition highlights the power struggle between the artist seeking greater autonomy and the corporation ensuring its financial state, right? So Drake has been the cornerstone, if you will, for UMG's success, but the legal friction reflects how larger the system overshadows the individual contributors. So he's really fighting for that control. But let me also tell you something. There was a lot of arrogance, not only in Drake thinking that he could really handle Kendrick Lamar, because Drake thought he thought he had the internet lined up. See, he did. He's with these streamers and all that stuff. That's why Kendrick was calling out all his bullshit. Like, you can keep them bots. You do those bots. I don't have to do all that. Kendrick depended on the people, and the people didn't let him down. Drake depended on what UMG usually does for Drake, and that let him down. And Drake got arrogant because I think Drake saw this battle as a financial opportunity to showcase why he's worth the money he said he wanted. And when he lost, and I think he actually lost fair and square because UMG didn't help him. They wanted him to fall. I believe they did want him to fall, but I believe that they wanted him to fall at his own demise. I don't think they helped anything. I think they just said, we're not going to help you. And I think once they seen that the momentum was going to Kendrick, of course they're going to promote what the people want. So I do think in that instance, they are telling the truth about that. Consolidation and control, they both are strategic in this, right? See, Morgan, JP Morgan believed in centralization, which is why he merged all these companies in all together, these conglomerates like GE. He knew that the individual brilliance was valuable, but only as a part of a larger structure that's under what? His control. That's the same thing with Grange. He knows that Drake is worth it, but long as he's under his control, he's worth it. Okay? So by acquiring Drake's catalog rights, signing exclusive contracts, and ensuring UMG's dominance in streaming and licensing, he's consolidating, Grange is consolidating music talents under a massive corporate umbrella. So now Drake wants to challenge that. But Grange is always going to have the upper hand. Why? Because the house always wins. Okay. And now we're talking about, because we're having these issues, it's going to be a dispute in the creative visionaries, right? So Edison, being the innovator, if you will, he thought he had something to say. He thought he had the same type of voice that Morgan had, but Morgan prioritized profit and scalability over the inventor's control or vision, right? This is what was pissing off Edison. And Edison got ended up being sidelined, and General Electric ended up becoming a corporate juggernaut. Drake's legal petition against UMG kind of reflects a modern struggle of the same thing between creative control and corporate profit, which Drake didn't mind the corporate profit long as the corporate was working with him. Okay. Now, this legal action, suggests some type of dissatisfaction with how his success has been leveraged by the corporation. So he has a little bit of feeling of that, right? Um, Another thing that JP Morgan probably, did very well, which not probably, this is true. JP Morgan decision laid a lot of foundation of the American, the modern American economy as we know it, creating institutions and systems and that define corporate America. He was in charge of the banking system. He's the reason why we got the Federal Reserve. Check out. Mind you, America didn't have the Federal Reserve until 1913. He's the reason for the 1913. He was able to streamline and figure out what the hell the problem was. I'm telling you, this is why certain names that we hear have been around since the fabric of this nation. When inventors and all that, if you could find the serial history, find America, right? And these are the people, the reason why we hear certain names and institutions that's been here for over 200 years, they're not moving. They are the actual fabric of this nation. And JP Morgan is that, okay? Um, Now, Lucian Grange, I ain't saying he was as great as JP Morgan, but we're talking about in the industry of music, okay? Lucian Grange has leadership that's transformed the music industry, right? He was able to adapt to the streaming era and adapted to that very well. He uses strategic visions to shape the industry's future, which he is trying to do. And he's trying to keep UMG as the dominant forefront in that, whether you're liking it or not. Okay. Now, all of these different parallels, right? Is between, let's say, JP Morgan and Lucian, it lies in their ability to consolidate the talent and resources and influence into structures that prioritize the system over the individual contributors, right? Because Morgan created General Electric behind Edison's back. This actually mirrors what Grange power over artists like Drake have been doing, right? Where the corporate dominance often clash with the individual creativity and autonomy. See, but Drake didn't give a damn about that because he was part of the system. And what he's realizing is that he's really not part of the system. He's not what he thought he was to the system. Okay. So I just thought that I wanted to break that parallel down to you guys, and I hope that you kind of understand where I'm coming from with this. I really hope that you like, share, and subscribe, and just think about it and comment below what you think about these parallels and how you feel about certain situations with this lawsuit or petition. You can also find us on fan base. We're getting on Spill Mob, but we are on fan base, Spoutable, Blue Sky. The only reason why we're this active on Twitter because I was just about to close it, but damn it, that damn Kendrick. So I had to keep that open to get that. But yes, you can follow us. We are Battle Rap Street Team on all of those. You just look into our About box on YouTube and just click on our links and follow us. We appreciate you. And look out for a contest that we're about to have soon too. You guys have been wonderful. I appreciate your time. And thanks again for being patient with us during our technical difficulties and all that. You have a lovely, lovely night and happy Indigenous Day to you tomorrow.